So it's my pleasure to introduce Ben Cobley. I first came across Ben after reading a review of his book, The Tribe, The Liberal Left System of Diversity. I read the review, liked what I read, and I read the book, loved the book. It's a very, very important book. It's everywhere, this stuff, and it's important we know how it works. And Ben analyzes it systematically. It's an academic book, but it's as relevant as it could be. It's about the most relevant book culturally I think we could read today. So after reading the book, I looked Ben up and said, "Do you want to meet?" And I'm always pleased when people agree. I think we met in the Star, which is one of my favourite pubs. It was where the great train robbery was planned. But Ben and I had a good session, and I'm delighted to say he came aboard. And I also admire very much his many of you know, I'm a skeptic about Twitter. I have to do it, and I do my best. But Ben's one of the few intellectuals, and he's so thoughtful, and he puts ideas through every morning. What's Ben going to say? What's he thinking about? And always positive and insightful. So it's my pleasure to ask Ben to come and speak to us. Ben Cobley.
So thanks so much to Will for the introduction. I don't know if I deserve half of it, but it's very welcome. And thanks for everyone for coming. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I was delighted before that I was coming, but to be here has been already a great experience for me, just to meet some of the members and to get the spirit of something that's new and growing and new types of people. I think it's fantastic. Anyway, I'm not going to so much concentrate on the book's themes. I'm going to sort of do a sideways movement from that. I'm actually going to share a couple of anecdotes from my time in the Labour Party. Now, I joined in 2010, and I left in 2016 in June. Not a coincidence. So yeah, a couple of anecdotes about my time. It was 6 years, and I was quite involved. And I went to events from the beginning. Now, one of the first events I went to, now I should say the office, actually, which was pretty convenient for me getting involved, the local CLP office was just 5 minutes walk from my house. So really convenient, really easy to get involved. So next door they had a bar where, of course, we all went after these meetings and events. So this first time I went, first occasion, we were down the bar, having a really nice time. I was hanging out mostly with the sort of younger people, had a few drinks, and I thought it was a good idea. You should broaden your horizons, go and talk to some of the other members, perhaps some of the older people. So I spotted at the bar a couple of older ladies who were on their own. I should have known, maybe for a reason. But anyway, I saw them and sort of filled with goodwill, a couple of beers, and a big dose of foolishness. I approached them. I went up to them and said, "Hello, girls. My name's Ben. I'm a new member here." So I held out my hand, and they just looked at it. Then they started up on me. How dare I call them girls? Thinking about it now, I was a bit of an idiot, actually, and it was kind of half reasonable. They said, "How dare I call them girls? That's offensive and patronizing." So I tried again. I said, "Okay then, hello, ladies." They weren't having that either. So this was, they said derogatory, unacceptable, etc., etc. Now, I think I just managed to dig myself out of this hole by actually finding out their names, but rather than saying hello women, which was the only one left. So I found out their names, and I listened to their lectures about how sexist I was and took it, like a good man. And later on, I got talking with one of them, and it was fine. We got on okay. She was all right. Anyway, the second incident was also just happened to take place in a pub. It was after a march, again, I think very early after I joined, maybe 2011 or something. I can't remember what it was. It was probably cuts, Tories awful, that type of thing. And again, it was a pretty good time I was having. I mean, it's really good to march, actually. I mean, as you can see with the Remainers, they actually really enjoy being together and doing their thing. And even though, for me and most of us, it's probably nonsense, but there is a quality in that, in being together. So anyway, we had our march, and it was nice to march, and it was nice to go down the pub afterwards again. So a few of us are in this pub near Trafalgar Square. I'm chatting with some bloke, probably about the same age as me, and we're getting on pretty well. I mean, really nice fella. But then I said that I thought immigration should be reduced in this country, and then it all kicked off. He started calling me a racist and a xenophobe. Now, I'm not a complete fool, despite appearances sometimes. I was aware that this was a sensitive issue, in Labour, and that's probably why I said what I said, because I just happen to like challenging things. So anyway, he called me a racist and xenophobe, but we actually carried on talking over a few more pints. I argued my case. He maintained that it was racist, and because of that I was a racist, and the rest of it. Anyway, we parted, and I never saw him again. I believe he left the party soon afterwards, thinking if people like me were in it, it was a racist party. So basically there's two reasons for me relating these two incidents. The first is on identity politics, and it leads into my second on what it means to be a political party. For me, one of the things about identity politics is its underlying lack of seriousness and depth. The two ladies, but it's also a matter of power, of course. The two ladies at the bar, they claimed to be mortified by what I said. But once they had educated me and exerted power over me, they were happy. The chap after the march, he got pretty agitated, very agitated. He was kind of shouting at me at one stage. But we continued debating, and we bought points for each other. On one level, we did actually somehow stay quite friendly in a strange way. Now, if I met a real racist in a bar, I wouldn't be doing that. I'll be running a mile. The point I'm arriving at is these are kind of theoretical, ideological attachments, convictions. They are meaningful and important, but the apparent anger that these people have is kind of synthetic. And they don't easily survive personal contact with their opponents, actually having a normal conversation with a normal person. It's difficult to sort of be angry and unpleasant in those contexts. So what I'm saying is that personal contact matters. Being in the same place like we are today, being together, listening to each other, even to me, has its own quality in itself. And that brings me on to what it means to be a political party. Now, we all have different opinions on stuff, but meeting people, breaking bread, having drinks, just like I say, just being here together in the same place, committing to be together, has its own value and importance. We develop loyalty to each other and to the group that brings us together, i.e. the party. Now, it's normal to deride this sort of thing, this sort of personal, you could say, emotional attachment, and to lament the dilution of principles that takes place in this sort of context. But without those sorts of bonds, there is no such thing as society. There is no family, there is no us, there is no group. And if there is no group, politics cannot happen. Or rather it does, but we leave it to others to do it. Those who are prepared to sacrifice a bit of their own convictions to stay together despite their disagreements. Now, this brings me back to identity politics. Some left-wingers say that all politics is identity politics, and this often draws contempt and derision. But I happen to have a lot of sympathy with this view. In fact, I basically agree with it. Any group, any we or us, is an identity group. Its politics is therefore a form of identity politics. It's not necessarily based around gender, sexuality, skin colour, religion, nationality, or whatever. But it has to be based around something. Myself, Will mentioned me joining the party maybe about a year ago, and basically Will bought me pints all night. That's why I stayed so long. But yeah, it was a really nice meeting. I was basically attracted in, besides the pints, by the new declaration. Basically, I read through the whole lot of it, and I agreed with maybe about 95% of it. Now, previously, when I was in Labour, and bear in mind I stayed for 6 years, I probably disagree with about 95% of stuff that I heard Labour people say. But I still stayed in until that time. We all have to sacrifice things in being part of the group. Now, I've seen quite a lot of Twitter activity around the SDP of members, or actually former members, getting unhappy, saying, I can't stay in this party because of this, he said that, they're associating with these people and all the rest of it. Now, I think that's fine. I throw my toys out of the pram on a regular basis. I did so with Labour. It's a free country, we can do what we want. But in doing this, you leave the group. You leave solidarity. You leave being able to be here with your colleagues. Myself, I miss, even though, obviously I had my troubles in Labour, I miss being in Labour. I miss going to meetings, meeting my friends. Some of them are still friends, and having that basic solidarity. But if you leave, you're not part of it anymore. You don't belong. You're not part of us anymore. Now, of course, one of the Social Democrats' tasks is to expand further this us, to bring more people in. And this means bring more varied viewpoints in. That, of course, creates a balancing act. You need to maintain your core positions, your strength through that, but also it means sometimes abandoning others which are problematic. This is just the basics of politics. This is what politics means. It's not just about what you believe in. It's about acting, being able to act, winning and losing, success and failure. Progressive identity politics is so powerful, not because it's philosophically strong. Anyone with a brain in their head who thinks a little bit can tell 95% of it is bullshit. It's powerful because it's politically strong, obviously. And it's politically strong largely because these things that the woke people say, they're simple, they're easy, they're familiar. And perhaps most importantly, they're integrated into the institutions of our society already. So I think it's a pretty tall task being here now. But the Social Democrats should seek to build a similar political strength, not from ideological contortions and bullshit, not to get lost in theory, and also requiring technocratic experts to approve your thing who are probably already linked into the other groups. But rather to say, this is what we believe in. This is what we want to do. If you want this, you should vote for us. For me, this is the basic essence of democratic politics. This is how it works. It's not requiring outside expert support. It's democracy. It's saying, we believe in this, you vote for us, we are part of the same gang. Now, if we have a core foundation to our politics in this room, I think maybe that is it. Thank you.